Did I change anything?
Nope. It's still you're still good. That one was on me.
Okay.
We're good to go now.
Did I change anything?
Nope.
A day to remember for the rest of your lives.
There's a great promise for all of you.
The Pro Football Hall of Fame and Extreme Networks present the Heart of a Hall of Famer program. With nearly 100 Hall of Famers participating, we have reached 48 states around this country, sharing the message that football is more than a game and can teach Americans how to huddle up during a time when we need to be united.
It's time for America to take a real deep dive. Not at no one else, but at yourself individually. If you want to change America, don't brush your teeth with your head down. Look at who you are and be the example. Be the example.
An opportunity to meet and learn from one of the greatest football players of all time. But more than that, the chance to see that their Hall of Fame life wasn't given to them. Single-parent homes, drug-infested neighborhoods, and poverty.
I grew up in a neighborhood that was considered one of the worst in America, and the household I grew up in was one of the worst in that neighborhood. By the time I was 20 years old, I knew at least 30 friends or family members who had lost their lives. Football became like a second parent to me. It taught me the things that my father wasn't there to teach me, and that my mother, as a struggling, single-parent woman, just didn't know to teach me.
But they learn how to live a life of character before pursuing their football careers. Today, you will learn you can do the same that they once did. Making good decisions can lead to a prosperous life both on and off the field. Your game for life has already begun. It's your decision whether or not you want to be a successful student, son, daughter, brother, or sister.
Every one of you can have a Hall of Fame life, whether or not you play football. You can be as great as you want to be. The Hall of Fame is all about integrity, character, and excellence. You have the opportunity to represent yourself that way. You determine your character.
Welcome to a once-in-a-lifetime program, The Heart of a Hall of Famer.
Being 6'8", and you got 5'8" defensive back, it was always an advantage. We was talking about down the chimney, meet me at the corner. Whatever I had to do to get rid of my guy, I would meet him right at the pylon.
To see this guy going across the middle, running from one sideline to the other, and then reach back and catch a ball with one hand away from where he's running, it was just amazing. He'd beat the throw, and the throw was errant, and he'd just reach back, catch it with one hand.
Inspire those guys that want to play and that will have an opportunity. Let them see what you do, inspire them to be the best. I mean, this is like almost like I'm dreaming, you know, but if it is like Mike Quick said, don't wake me up, please, you know, because this is great honor.
All right, and with that, I'd like to welcome everybody here to the Pro Football Hall of Fame for another installment of our great Heart of a Hall of Famer series powered by our great partners at Extreme Network. Today, featuring, as you saw in our intro video, class of 2020 enshrinee, Mr. Harold Carmichael. And before we get to him, I got a few quick things I want to run through first. As many of you know, my name is Jake Ray. I'm the Youth and Education Manager here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. I'm going to be moderating our session today. I am super excited, really looking forward to the program today. Our mission here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame is to honor the heroes of the game, to preserve its history, to promote its values, and to celebrate excellence everywhere. And those values we promote are those of commitment, integrity, courage, respect, and excellence, all of which not only make Mr. Harold Carmichael a Hall of Famer, a gold jacket on the field, but they also make him a Hall of Famer off the field. And we'll talk about how those values impacted his career today, both on and off the field. Before we do get started, I do want to send some quick thank yous. First of all, our great partners at Extreme Networks. Thank you so much for everything that you do for us here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and truly everything you do for schools all across the country. You know, we wouldn't be able to do this great program or any of our remote programs without your support. So thank you so much for all of that. Secondly, I'd like to thank our teachers and administrators, all of our educators who are with us today. This school year has been a very challenging one. I know that. And we just appreciate you allowing us to be a part of your school year, your school day today. Come into your classroom virtually and talk to your students about the great game of football and all the great life lessons it can teach. And then lastly, I'd like to thank our students. Without you guys today, this program doesn't take place. Well, I'm super excited. I know Mr. Carmichael is as well, to hear the questions that you guys have for us today. So make sure you're ready to go. We're going to be going school by school, asking all these questions today. I'll ask some questions. You guys will ask some questions. If you're watching us live on YouTube, on the Pro Football Hall of Fame's YouTube page, make sure you submit your questions as well. Put your name, the school you go to, and what your question is, and we'll try our best to make it part of the program. So without further ado, I'd like to officially welcome our special guest today, Mr. Harold Carmichael. Harold, welcome to the Heart of a Hall of Famer program.
Thank you very much. This is a great opportunity to say hello to you and wish you to the Hall of Fame, and to really, I'm enjoying being around these students and the teachers and all, being able to share some of my lifetime stories.
So no, we appreciate you being a part of the program today, and I'm going to kick everything off. And, we talked about those values at the beginning: commitment, integrity, courage, respect, and excellence. Out of those 5 values, is there one that stands out to you as more important than the others, or more significant, or do they all have equal parts?
Well, I tell you what, you cannot separate those things. They all work together. I look at all, being, committing yourself to doing things, and that pretty much kind of bring it all in integrity. There's something that I always thought about people, about today, waiting for this program to start. They said, we started at 11:45. I mean, I was ready about 11:30 to start doing this, because I want to be that person that if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. I'm going to be on time. It makes a lot of difference. If you're 5 minutes early, you might be late. That's where I said, got to be at least 10 to 15 minutes earlier in order for people to really believe in you.
Yeah, I think that's very important. And it's very cool that all those life lessons that you just talked about, all those things you can learn from the game of football, and they can make you a great athlete, but they also can make you a great person. So, thinking about those values, is there a moment that stands out to you, or a thing you remember the game of football teaching you, that when your career was over, you were able to take that and apply it to your life off the field?
Well, one of the things that I've always learned, and I was taught, it started from high school. I remember my high school head coach is telling us, Ichiban. I'm from Jacksonville, Florida, Rains High School, and Ichiban in Japanese means number one. And we always strive to be number one. It's times when you're standing in a line. Sometimes there's a lot of people in front of you, there's a lot of people behind you. But I always worked to try to be the best that I could be. And not looking at the numbers and stuff, just focusing on what I can do, on the things that I can do to make me better.
Absolutely. I think that's a great way. And everybody watching, and even you and I, we'll see throughout this program how many different ways you kind of keep seeing that same recurring message. It doesn't matter what situation you're in, all the different things that you might be going through, that the game of football is able to teach you so many different life lessons. And I'm excited to dive into our questions today. And the first school we're going to go to is Ness City Elementary School. And they are out in the Kansas City area. We're going to go to them for our first question today. So they're going to have a student come up to the microphone, unmute themselves, and whenever they're ready, go ahead and ask their question. So Mr. Schultz, class there, whenever you're ready, go ahead.
Was there a coach that has ever given you a perspective to look at differently?
Well, one of the, I can say a negative thing that one of the coaches told me when I was in high school, that, I made a mistake, and he said, you'll never make it, and that's something that's stuck in my head. And I'm saying, how dare he says that to me? And I really doesn't hold it against him, because I think it was a motivational thing that he said for me, but it's something that I always remembered. But, I've had coaches all through the year that really, all my years, that really encouraged me, saying, because I thought a lot of times I was too tall to do a lot of things. And but I started looking at things and they're talking to me. I said, even a short guy, if you 5'8" and here I'm 6'8", I'm going to do what you do. And I'm going to try to do it better than you, and you find yourself that, you put all of those negatives and you put the positive things together and you keep these things, negative stuff going in the back that you don't remember, that you can be like a springboard, that you springboard off that.
Awesome. All right, we're going to go to our next class here. I believe we've got students at Gibbs Leadership School, and they're right here in Canton, Ohio. So I've got two different teachers connected in. I got Mr. Liate as well as Ms. Wilson. So whichever classroom's got those students in there, can we go ahead and have those students ask a question here? All right, it looks like we're going to go to Mr. Liate's class here for our next question. Looks like they're unmuted, and we got somebody coming up to the mic. All right, whenever you're ready. We can't hear you. You are unmuted, so you might get a little closer to the microphone there. You're not coming through. So, Mr. Liate, if you can go ahead and put that question into the chat, we'll move on, but we'll come back and make sure we get that question asked. So we're gonna move on. I'm gonna go here. You come to me next, Mr. Carmichael. This month, February, is Black History Month. And obviously, it is very important to kind of look at, some of the stories that go along with this month. You yourself attended an HBCU, Southern University, and there's so many different connections we can make. But the first one, I just kind of want to, the 10,000 foot view, attending an HBCU, what kind of impact did that leave on you after your time there at Southern?
Well, the impact it left on me, that I went to a great school, got an education. They gave me an opportunity to get an education. I was a walk-on at Southern University. Nobody had any clue who I was. And we, growing up, like I said, I'm from Jacksonville, Florida, and you got the Florida and Georgia game. Never really paid any attention to that. When they were playing, we were out playing football ourselves, but never had any idea that I would be going to one of those schools at all. So pretty much, I just, as I say, just stayed in my lane at the time that you would say that, and went to Southern University. And it was such a great experience for me, being around people that love you and people that's doing the same thing you're doing, going through the same things that you've been going through. So, it was a great, great honor to go to Southern University.
Now, while you were at Southern, not a lot of people know is that you just weren't a football star. You were a 3-sport athlete down there. You were a football, a center on a basketball team, and you even threw discus and javelin. Why was it important for you to be a multi-sport athlete? Did it help you become better at each specific sport? And how do you feel like this prepared you for life in the NFL?
Well, it really, playing those 3 sports, it just felt that I had a talent for each one of those. If I could have learned how to dribble a basketball, I would have never played in the National Football League. I'd probably have been in the NBA. If my college coach was really expertise in throwing a javelin, I think I would have had a world record in that, because I've thrown a football 105 yards before. A lot of people don't believe that, but football, that was my sport. At the time growing up, all the way through elementary school, high school, I couldn't make the football team in high school until I was in 11th grade. But I always felt that nobody can catch a football like me. But so, I just wanted to spread my talent, let people know that I can do, when I put my heart and my mind into things, I can do whatever I want to do. And, I think, except for pretty much that javelin, like I never learned how to throw that javelin, but I still think to this day, if I would have learned how to do that the correct way, nobody in the world would ever beat me.
Hey, and that's a confidence you have to have. And, I mentioned a few minutes ago that you'll see the relationship between the game of football and every life lesson. And that's a great moment. If you have confidence in yourself, if you put 100% effort into that one thing, you're going to be able to excel at that. And I think that's another great relationship between, life and sports.
I should have learned how to dribble a basketball too. So, I think I probably had a longer career than that.
That I wouldn't doubt it for sure. We got Mr. Liate did type his question in here in the chat for us, and this is from his class, like I said, here right in our backyard in Canton, Ohio. He said, when you going through your school, was there a teacher that really helped you? And if so, how did that teacher help you?
Well, it was, I guess, Mrs. Johnson. I think I might be her name. It's been so long. There's been over 60, almost 60-some years ago. But I had quite a few teachers that really inspired me. She was just telling me that I had, good talent. I had, a lot of people liked me. I didn't know why, but I was just being myself. And she was just saying that I really need to just buckle down and really get into whatever I wanted to do, that I could do it. If I could believe it, that I could do it. So that's one of the things I always remember her telling me, if it's there, that I could do it. If you really want to do it, you could do it, Harold.
That another great message, whether it's a parent, a teacher, a coach, somebody, as to use the boxing term, someone to be in your corner, they're supporting you, always helps you get that extra motivation, go that extra mile. We're actually going to go back out to another school. We're going to go down to Duval County, Schools.
Yes.
Mr. Banks down there at Frank H. Peterson School. He's got a bunch of students in the room for him. So we're going to go ahead and ask him to turn his video on here and unmute his microphone. And we're going to get a question from his students down there in Duval County.
Duval.
Looks like they're at the computer. Once we get them unmuted here, we should be all right. They're good to go.
Hello.
We got you. Go ahead.
My question was, do you feel like the game of football has changed from back then to now?
Oh yes. Hey, I'm from Duval. I just want to let you know that. From out of Rains High School. You familiar with that? Yeah, I went to Rains High School. But anyway, the game has changed a lot. When I played, it was very physical. They're putting a lot of rules in because of how physical it used to be. They're trying to protect a lot of the players from all serious injuries. I kind of say they're taking a little bit from it because it's taking the aggressiveness from the defensive players, because when you got that helmet to helmet, that's very tough to control. So pretty much that's one of the rules I hope that they kind of look at. But the game is, if I could have played in today where they can't touch you, where you can't, about 5 yards off the line of scrimmage, and some of the rules they have now, I could have caught a million passes, but I'm for the rules and for the health of the players.
Awesome. That's a great question. Now I got some questions sent in here. We got some students from Franklin Avenue Middle School out in New Jersey who are watching us on YouTube right now. I see some of them students commenting. They sent me some questions, and one of the questions I wanted to ask from them was, what was something challenging that you had to overcome, throughout your career?
Well, one of the things I talked a little earlier about being 6'8", and I had guys in front of me, Harold Jackson and Ben Hawkins. These guys were like 5'8" and 6 foot tall. And I was trying to emulate them. I was trying to run patterns like them. So I had to figure out a way, now we got this new head coach, receiver coach, Boyd Dollar. He came into the Eagle, and he was like a 6'5" receiver for the Green Bay Packers. And he told me, he said, Harold, you cannot run patterns like the 5'8" guy. You're 6'8". You're going to do it in a different way. So he taught me. That was a challenge in me changing over. You remember I was saying earlier that I tried to do what the 5'8" size guys were doing, but I want to let them know that I can do what they could do. But now what they're having this receiver coach and they come and tell me, the way I should run my pattern, it would benefit me better if I did it my way.
And I think that's a very important thing that, you have to look out for yourself. You have to do things your way because, I want to throw it now. You look at, our class of 2021 that's just got announced. You see a guy like Calvin Johnson, Megatron, who's that big bodied wide receiver that you had to double team if they're inside of 20 because they were going to them. For all you watching, that was Harold Carmichael when he played. He was the guy. He was the big, tall receiver that was kind of new to the game. So you not only did you talk about how the game has changed, but even the position you played has changed so much. And, here at the Hall of Fame, we showcase that history of how much the game has changed. And part of our job is not only to honor the great heroes like yourself and all of our Hall of Famers, but everybody who spent 1 minute in the NFL. Part of our job here is to preserve that history. And what better way to showcase that than throw it out to our museum? I've got coworker of mine, Mr. John Kendall, who works in our archives here at the Hall of Fame. He's got some pretty cool artifacts with him. He's going to talk a little bit and show some stuff from Mr. Carmichael's career. So I know this might be a surprise to you, Harold, but we're going to show some stuff throughout your career. So show some photos and some different documents. So I'm going to throw it downstairs to John Kendall. John, you there?
I am. Thanks, Jake. Appreciate it. Harold, thanks for joining us and congratulations. I haven't formally been able to congratulate you on your enshrinement. Usually we have orientations, but due to the pandemic, we weren't able to get you here down to the archives. But my name is John Kendall. I'm Director of Archives and Football Information here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And when we talk about that mission to honor the heroes of the game, preserve its history, promote its values, and celebrate excellence everywhere, I feel very blessed that down here in the archives, we're able to really hit on every single one of those points with all that we do. We're honoring your legacy through your artifacts by preserving your artifacts and your documents. And then we're able to showcase those values, the commitment, integrity, courage, respect, and excellence by telling your story. And we have information related to all 25,000 plus individuals who have played at least one NFL regular season game and the countless men and women who have contributed, coached the game as well. And so our job here is really to disseminate that information and showcase and share your story and preserve your legacy for future generations of not only fans, but most importantly, friends and family. And so, Harold, a lot of your artifacts are actually out in the museum on display in your class locker, which you'll be able to see that in a little bit in this program. But down here in the archives, we have over 40 million pages of documents, 6 million photographic images, over 30,000 artifacts related not just to the history of the game, but like I said, every player, coach, and administrator who helped build the game to what it is today. And so I pulled a little bit of your personal archive that we preserve in our archive here in Canton, but we've got a huge photo collection. And so here you are, 1980 NFL Man of the Year award, and probably one of the most prestigious awards that an individual can win or be awarded in their NFL career. Here you are with the trophy after a Pro Bowl game there. I've also got this game program. This is actually from your first career game on September 19th, 1971 against the Cincinnati Bengals. I think you had 2 catches that game for over 40 yards. It showcases, obviously, you always had a lot of yards per catch. That was one of your big statistics. We've got media guides. I'm sure these look familiar. We've got one here from your very first career. There you are as a rookie. Talks about you being a captain. Also here, this is from year 11. And obviously the media guide information gets a lot longer. You got your year by year receiving record, but this is from 1981, which was just after you guys' NFC championship and Super Bowl 15, which you had a really nice game in Super Bowl 15. Here we've got your player file, so a lot of news clippings that we have related. This is you and Ron Jaworski. This is from 1979. This is you guys were starting to ascend as an organization and as a franchise. So a lot of great information. Like I said, a lot of your artifacts are on display within our museum, so you'll get a chance to see that in a little bit. But one of the questions that I wanted to pose to you from the archives is, I know Jake talked about Calvin Johnson and that big body receiver. When you were playing, was it something that you recognized that you were kind of trailblazing in that era of wide receivers, being that 6'8", 225 receiver? There weren't a lot of, there weren't any of that size before you played, and you really helped kind of change that position. Did you recognize that when you were playing, or is that something that you kind of recognized later on after your playing days?
Very good question, John. I tell you, I could not outrun anybody. I was so slow. So I had to figure out another technique in order for me to catch the ball. I had to put my body between the defensive back and the football. So if I did that, and it's like a basketball type of move, I would just try to get myself in front of that guy, and he couldn't run over me. So long as I don't care how fast you are, you're not, you couldn't get around me because my wingspan pretty much. So I use my body positioning on a lot of defensive backs, and pretty much use my height to do that. Because again, if you look at Calvin Johnson, you look at the guys now that 6'5", 6'6", that's in the league today that can run a 4.4, 4.3. I was like a 4.5, 4.6, 40 receiver, and I had to figure a way to fool guys. If I couldn't fool you, I'll body position you. So that was one of the things, the techniques that I had to use in order to be successful.
That's great. Well, appreciate all you've done for the game. Appreciate all you continue to do for the game and the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Look forward to seeing you here in Canton this summer.
Hey, John, you should see some of the stuff I got in this room. You throw that away.
Don't ever throw anything away. Reach out to us. We want to make sure that we're preserving your legacy for future generations. Thanks, Harold.
I will. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, John. Appreciate you giving us a behind the scenes look. And for those who are watching us right now, if you were to come visit the Pro Football Hall of Fame, you can't get that look. So we wanted to provide you a special now. Now, Harold, you probably could, but everybody else probably couldn't get that behind the scenes look. So we wanted to provide you, that look. So you looked at, some of those artifacts. And one thing John mentioned was that first game program from your first game as a rookie. And this is a question we like to ask all of our Gold Jackets, because it is kind of cool to see the different answers. But do you feel, what moment stands out to you kind of as your welcome to the NFL moment? Like, whether it was a practice, your first time going up a DB who would be a Hall of Famer, teammates you play with, coaches you have. What was that moment to where you kind of had to step back and go, all right, I'm in the big leagues now?
Well, I tell you what, my first 2 weeks in training camp and in the NFL, it was really weird for me because I was wondering if I could play in the NFL. I didn't know if I could do it until I caught a one-handed pass in practice one day on our top defensive back. And after I caught the ball, I was tackled, and I'm laying there for a couple of seconds. I said, I can play this game. I can play it. So that was the moment of my rookie year in Reading, Pennsylvania, in training camp. And when that happened, I said, I can play this game, because if I beat this guy, I can beat a lot of other guys in the NFL.
And then off of that, who was maybe the toughest cornerback you had to face? Is there a current now Hall of Fame teammate of yours that you had to go up against? I know you played collegiately with some Hall of Famers as well. Is there a guy that stands out to you as maybe the toughest individual, or maybe along the same lines, the player you looked forward to going up against the most because it did create a challenge and a higher level of competition?
Well, you always want to go against a guy that's not that good, but because I didn't want to go against some of these guys just in the NFL. But no, one of the guys that's always going to be my first choice. We played together in college. He was a year ahead of me. Was Mel Blount. Mel Blount was one of the toughest defensive backs I ever went against in college and in the NFL. Mel was like 6'4", 6'5", strong as an ox. I mean, could run. When he puts his hands on you, you were done pretty much. But till this day, I'll say Mel Blount got me ready for the NFL. And I have to put in another guy named Michael Haynes. Mike Haynes was another a great defensive back, which he's in the Hall of Fame, and one little mosquito-like defensive back, and that's Darrell Green. I could not get rid of that little guy. But what a great cornerback he played. And then another defensive back that I played against was also Donnie Shell, was going into class with me. A great defensive back, hard hitter, and he looked like he was just desperate always just to get me. But I mean, I know a lot of guys, some other guys that I played against in the NFL, they're going to be mad at me. You know, I can look at a guy like Everson Walls. He played for the Cowboys, a great defensive back. I mean, he was another one of those like mosquito guys I couldn't get rid of and stuff. But you swat at them and stuff, but they keep coming back. But, you know, again, some guys going to get mad at me because they say, well, we shut you down, you know, but I don't know too many people that have shut me down. You know, I've caught at least one pass in 127 games, and that's so it wasn't too many people to shut me down.
No, not at all. You got a gold jacket, or you will be getting a gold jacket.
Yes.
For a reason. Another kind of great question. You know, you listed off 4 of the top corner defensive backs that, you know, ever played a game there. And, you know, you were going up with them week by week. You know, Mel Blount, it was every day in college to go up against them. So got a question here. This is from Dexter. He's one of our view only students from Cuyahoga Falls schools right here in Ohio. And he asked, you know, sometimes you get nervous when you're playing in front of a big crowd. So for you, coming out of a smaller school at Southern to Philadelphia, that's known as, you know, some of the toughest fans. Some of the stories you hear from Philly are tough. To be playing in front of that crowd, what was that adjustment like, and what are some of the things you had to do for that adjustment?
Well, I didn't play in front of 70-some thousand people like I did with at the Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia, but playing against Grambling State University down in Louisiana, when Southern and Grambling played. Especially during they call it Bayou Classic. I didn't play the Bayou Classic, but that game against Southern and Grambling, big crowd. You couldn't even get around in there. People was on the field. There was so many people there. But, you know, playing in Philadelphia at the beginning, it was pretty tough, you know, because I didn't know exactly what Philadelphia was like. And I know how passionate Philadelphia fans are. They're blue collar workers, you know, they want their team to win. And but the greatest thing about it is the 13 years that I played in Philadelphia, I think that the Philadelphia fans embraced me, and I know I embraced that crowd, that fan base, because great set of fans, the greatest fans in the world. There's some stuff that's been said about Philadelphia that's not true. You know, people just don't like Philly because we are so good.
That's so right. That's it. That's got to be
our fan base is great. They're just jealous about fan base.
I like that answer. That's a good way to put it. We're going to go back out to our schools now. We're going to send it back out to Mr. Schultz's class at Ness City Elementary down there in Kansas City. I know we got a bunch of Chiefs fans down there. So we're going to go ahead and have them have a student come up to the microphone there at Ness City. I'll go ahead and ask you to unmute your microphones here. So whenever you're ready, go ahead and unmute and ask your next question.
Who gave you an inspiring speech that you'll never forget? What was it?
Ooh, that's a good one.
About 2 years ago, Brian Dawkins, that he was inducted into the into the NFL Hall of Fame, and he gave a speech that I think everybody loved. You know, Brian is played for the Philadelphia Eagles. He was the face of Philadelphia. When he played the 13, 14 years he played. And that speech he gave at the Hall of Fame was unbelievable. I mean, I think everybody loved it, and they still talk about it today.
Yeah, I know one of the best speeches, you know, some of the most iconic images, him crawling out like he did every pregame to unveil his bust was a very cool sight. And, you know, you haven't been able that opportunity. You haven't gotten to give your speech or put that jacket on. And we're really looking forward to having you here this August. And I'm sure you'll have one that'll be just as inspiring and just as cool as Brian's was.
Well, Jake, you know it's got to be short because we got so many people going in. So they're telling us right now, keep it short, Harold.
Yeah. So we're actually going to send it back out to one of our schools now. We're going to go back down to Duval County there. to Mr. Banks and Frank H. Peterson's the school down there for our next question. I know he's got some students who are anxious to ask some questions, and it looks like we got a student walking up to the microphone now. So whenever you get up there, go ahead and click the unmute button and ask your question.
All right, so with all the distractions, what like kept you focused on football?
Would you repeat that again?
I said, like, with all the distractions, what kept you focused on football?
It was very tough. One of the things that I talk to young guys, I'm quite sure you're probably playing football right now, but one of the things I always talk about is remember how you got there. You know, there's going to be a lot of distractions, especially when you get in NFL. I mean, even in college, there's a lot of distraction. In high school, there's a lot of distraction, but you got to stay focused. Remember how you got to where people wanted you to be around them. I remember after my third year, which I led the NFL in receiving and in touchdowns, everybody wanted me to be at their parties. They wanted me to have dinner with me. They wanted me to go here and there. And I had to be careful because a lot of times that would distract you from that off-season workout and the season workout for the next year. You have to be very careful. So, I mean, I focused on that. I tried to stay in my lane, tried to stay focused on what got me to having people wanting me to be around them. So you got to just stay focused, man. You know, there's a lot of distraction. We didn't have social media where we stayed in contact with people. I'm gonna give my age away. I mean, pretty much barely had a telephone to talk to on the phone all the time, you know. So you guys got cell phones now that can be a distraction. You're texting, emailing, you know, while you're in class. So right before you get to practice, that's something that's going to distract you. Hey, remember, man, stay focused. You got to stay focused, not only just for football, just for life, you know, because a lot of people are jealous out there and they see you trying to do something with your life. They're going to try to find a way to distract you and have you doing something else. And, you know, a lot of guys, you know, you say this to people, say this to younger guys. I've been there, man. You know, you got to listen to people that has the gray hair, that has the knowledge, that just say, be careful in who you surround yourself with.
That's a great. I like that answer. You know, you said, you know, you're kind of showing your age, but listen to the people who have the gray hair.
Yeah.
I've never heard that before. That's pretty interesting because, you know, the use wisdom is always the word that comes up. You know, you guys, like you said, you know, you've been through things, you've seen things. You know, these are the people we got to lean on to help learn. You know, and we've talked a little bit about, you know, your career. You've seen, you know, some artifacts from your career. The one thing, I got a question here from YouTube, kind of along those same lines. This is from Daniel. He wants to know, what is one game that you wish you could play in again?
The Super Bowl, the Super Bowl 15. I wish I could redo that and play that game again. I haven't watched the game since we played that in the Super Bowl. I just can't watch it. But that's just one game. Yes, I would love to play it again, and I would guarantee a win.
So you see, everybody who's watching right now, the love of the game never goes away. No matter how many gray hairs you might have, the love of that game never goes away. So, you know, you mentioned playing in the Super Bowl, and John kind of alluded to this, you know, a little earlier about, you know, seeing some of those artifacts. And, you know, we have a lot of great artifacts from your career. You mentioned you're sitting in the room that's got a lot of them as well. But I'm going to throw it out to Nathan Martin, who's in our interactive gallery in front of our class of 2020 display, and your locker specifically, to show some of those great artifacts. So Nathan, are you there?
Yeah, Jake, I'm here. Hopefully you guys can hear me. And like Jake was saying, I'm in our interactive gallery. This gallery, we've got a display case that highlights the latest edition of Madden NFL. We've got a display case that highlights, you know, some of the historic moments on Sunday Night Football, but we also have an area where we highlight the latest Hall of Fame class. So right now we've got our display for the class of 2020 that includes you, Mr. Carmichael. You guys can see over me, you're sharing a locker with Jimbo Covert, but we got some really, really awesome stuff in this locker. And I'm going to actually flip my camera around. So if you guys give me a second, I want you guys to see this stuff up close and in personal. right? So up there at the very top, we've got a football from your career, and it's when you set the record for most consecutive games having a catch, 106 consecutive games. Of the program from the 1978 NFC wildcard game against the Bears, where you had 6 catches, 111 yards, and 2 touchdowns to lead the Eagles to a victory. We've got a warm-up suit down here that the team issued to the players in the 80s. And then I want to jump all the way down to the bottom of your locker because we've got a pair of your cleats, and they're sitting on the turf from Veterans Memorial Stadium down there. The actual turf, the cleats, you guys can see we talked about his size as a wide receiver. And, we've got a couple of questions coming back to you, Mr. Carmichael. I've got to ask first, what size shoe do you wear? I'm a size 10. I just looked at those cleats. What size shoe do you wear? But more importantly, what does it mean to you to know that this stuff is on display in Canton, Ohio, in the Pro Football Hall of Fame?
Oh, this is awesome. But first of all, the size, I think those shoes are like 15s. I think my arch dropped. I'm wearing a size 16 right now. I wear size 16. But that's those. And you look at their high top; those are extra high tops, and that was for a lot of guys back in that time when I played. They thought they're saying, "Wow, that's not cool." They, the high tops, cleats there. But I love the high top because I sprained my ankle one time. And Nike kind of did these shoes for me and never had another ankle injury since then. So, being taped, which a lot of guys don't get taped anymore, ankle taped and stuff, but I wanted to make sure that I was prepared and protected when I played the game.
Mm-hmm. And then what does it mean for you to have these artifacts on display in Canton?
One of the, and I don't want to knock the Hall of Fame, but I had something else that was in there. It was 22 feet tall. And that was a trophy that they gave me when I broke the record. And I mean, just to have the shoe, that outfit in there, and some of the other programs, the memorabilia that they have in it, that's awesome. There's, and I would say that all of those kids, all of the students that are listening to this Zoom and we're watching this Zoom, I hope you get an opportunity to ask your parents to take you to the Hall of Fame. It's one of the greatest places you ever want to see, and some of the things that you always you didn't know about that you want to know about, the history of the game, is right there in the Hall of Fame, and I just feel honored to have these things in there. I do have another football that I want to get done. I got to get it kind of cleaned up a little bit, but I'm going to send that also to one of the games we played against the Washington football team.
Yeah, that's awesome, Mr. Carmichael. And, your locker is right next to the Black College Football Hall of Fame, which is a really cool, another element that we have here in Canton. And just thank you so much for doing this program with us. And I'm going to send it back to Jake to wrap it up with a couple more questions for you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, I'll echo that. Thank you, Nathan. And I'm glad he mentioned the Black College Football Hall of Fame because that's going to segue right into my next question. As you know, and maybe our viewers that don't know, but here in Canton, Ohio at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, we are also the home to the Black College Football Hall of Fame. And this is just like any other Hall of Fame, but in order to get enshrined into this one, you have to attend a HBCU, historically Black college or university, also play football as well, as you can see there in the name. So, to you, what was that induction process like for you? What does it mean to be recognized as, one of the greatest to ever attend an HBCU, but now one of the greatest to ever put those size 15 cleats on and step out on that turf?
It was unbelievable. One of my friends that I grew up with and played football and basketball with Kenny Burrows, he was the first wide receiver to wear 00 back in the day. It was the Houston Oilers. And again, he was the quarterback in my junior year, and I followed his footsteps. And just to be into that, he would tell me, he went in before I did, and he would tell me, "Man, we got to get you into the Black College Football Hall of Fame." I mean, he was saying that to me for about 2 years, and I was saying to the kid, I said, maybe I wasn't good enough in college to be inducted into that. And he said, "We're gonna get you in." So back in 2017, 18, I was selected to be inducted to the Black College Football Hall of Fame, I screamed. I had Doug Williams and I had Shaq Harris. They both called me to congratulate me, and I mean, I was excited about it. And it was just so exciting to get that call from those guys.
Now, being a member of the Hall of Fame, as well as the Black College Football Hall of Fame, for somebody who went to an HBCU, is inducted in the Black College Football Hall of Fame, what does it being held here and being housed here in Canton, Ohio at the Pro Football Hall of Fame mean to you?
It can show you that you can go to a Black college or university and still go step right into the NFL. You know, people think that just because you went to an HBCU, that they don't come watch you, they don't watch your games and all, that your inferior football teams. It's not true. Go to Canton, look at the pictures and the memorabilia from guys that went to HBCU team. You know, some of the, you know, I the year that I went into the Black College Football Hall of Fame, I took my family with me, and my son, when he was sitting in the lobby and watching all these guys come by, he said, he went to a Black college. He went to, he did not believe it. You know, there are so many people, you know, the Walter Payton, the Jerry Rice, you know, these guys went there, Mel Blount, you know, Isaiah Robertson. There are so many guys, you know. In fact, I was almost surprised because, you know, some of the guys you didn't play against, they didn't play in the same conference that you played in. So you really didn't know that much about them until they got into pros. And then you say, oh, well, I don't know where they went to school. But you walk into the Black College Football Hall of Fame, I guarantee your jaw's gonna drop. You can say, oh my goodness, he went there too? You know, Willie Lanier. I mean, you look at all these guys. I mentioned Donnie Shell, you know, Everson Walls, you know, they great football players. You know, Doug Williams, Shaq Harris, you know, these guys, I mean, unbelievable ball players coming from unbelievable Black colleges.
Yeah, it's true. You mentioned that, and it is kind of cool to see those. You know, you mentioned the game of football. You know, we've had the Black College Football Hall of Fame Classic, you know, played here one year. And to be honest, it was one of the greatest football games I'd ever seen. A last second touchdown,
yes,
comeback victory. The game itself is very, very good as well.
It's a lot of good football.
Attending an HBCU, you know, HBCUs obviously were put in place to give, you know, Black athletes and Black students the opportunities to go to college, because that wasn't presented to them, you know, at one point in our society, you know, believe it or not. But, you know, you go back, and obviously you grew up in a different time than everybody's growing up in now. But growing up where you did and attending an HBCU, what was some of that adversity you had to persevere through, not only as an NFL athlete and a college athlete, but even growing up as a kid? What was some of that stuff, you know, those challenges you had to persevere through?
Well, you know, growing up, and if you had some accolades, again, I grew up in Jacksonville, Florida, and the accolades that you had, and it still happens a little bit now, that if you were so great, if you're very good in high school, not too many people knew that. You know, it was not publicized. There weren't a lot of white colleges and universities coming asking you to giving you scholarships to go to college. Again, I say, like, you know, Florida and Georgia game. You know, I never even thought about even going to a white college or university and all. So, you know, we focus on the top Black colleges. What at that time for me was growing up, you know, Florida A&M. You had Bethune-Cookman, but then, you know, I didn't know too much about Southern until my head coach from Southern, he came to check out one of my fullbacks. I was a quarterback, and the fullback, they were very interested in it. They called me in and were talking to both of us, but I was there. He really wasn't talking to me. He was talking to the fullback because they really wanted him. But after it all, everything just shook out and all, I was the one that made freshman of the year. The person that they wanted real bad didn't make it, pan out to be what they wanted him to be. So, you know, in that way, I say just even if you're not number one, make them feel sorry that they didn't choose you to be number one. And I think I've done that a couple of times in college and in the NFL.
All right, we got time for a few more questions. I want to get back out to the schools at least one more time, and we're going to send it back down to your hometown there in Duval with Mr. Banks and Frank H. Peterson School there. Looks like we're going to have a student come up and ask a question here. So go ahead whenever you're ready down there in Florida, where it's probably a lot warmer and not as snowy as it is here in the Northeast. Go ahead and have your student come up and ask your question.
It can get cold in Jacksonville.
Hardest game you ever played in?
Can you repeat that for us?
What was the hardest game you ever played in?
Gosh, man. Wow. You know, when you're in the NFL, you're in the NFL, there are some tough games, and I could say one of the toughest is when we played in the Super Bowl. I've had many tough games where, you got the defensive backs that, like some of these guys are in the Hall of Fame. I was fortunate and to be one of those players that they had to double cover me, and sometimes they had 3 people covering me. So, those games against the Washington football team, they used to call it the Sequoia Axe, where they would come from the line of scrimmage and try to chop me down. And I didn't know whether the defensive back was going to come in and chop me down, or if it was going to be the linebacker, or if it was going to be a free safety that came down. So, I had to keep my head on a swivel for that. And that made it pretty tough because you couldn't really concentrate on just beating one guy. I had to try to beat 3.
All right, got time for a couple more here, and we'll get to my final question here in a second. Is it one we ask every time, but we do have the unique opportunity to you to kind of give us a different perspective than a lot of Gold Jackets do. Normally, when we do these programs, the guys got their jacket on, they got a replica of their bust in the background, they got their big ring on. You, unfortunately, you are a member of the Hall of Fame, but you haven't got to go through all the great ceremonies and take part in that. So my question is, being in this, what's the wait been like, and how much are you looking forward to as we cross our fingers to hopefully by August everything is back to normal? How much are you looking forward to, being here in Canton, Ohio, and going through the whole enshrinement process?
Good question, Jake. I waited for over 30 years to get inducted. Then I had to wait another year. It was so frustrating that one time I said, but just give me the ring, the jacket, and the bus. And we don't have to do anything else, But, I'm excited about going through the induction ceremony. It's been just nerve-wracking. We haven't had a chance to really celebrate with the fans of Philadelphia, my friends down in Jacksonville, and my friends in Louisiana. These places where I played, grew up in, and it was just been really sad to be able to go through this type of epidemic, and not being able to. I haven't been able to really hug my granddaughter for a year. I've had to see them at a distance, so it's been very, very tough going through this, and I just can't wait till I can get to Canton. Get to the opportunity to see all of the fans that is there to wish me well and to congratulate me, and for me to, I don't know if we're going to be giving hugs and handshakes out, but we'll do something close to it.
Might not be giving out hugs and handshakes, but we will be giving out busts, gold jackets, and rings for you, though.
Yes.
Is there? And I want to throw this one in here, and it's going to be. It might be the toughest one, but is there one specific moment you're looking forward to the most? Is it the speech? Is it putting the jacket on? Is it maybe meeting another gold jacket you haven't even seen in a long time, or haven't had the chance to meet? Or is it talking to some of the younger guys who are enshrined? What is that one thing you're really looking forward to taking part in?
Well, it was at last year Super Bowl. So I got a chance to see, when we first got inducted, got an opportunity, the guys to congratulate me, and then we had an opportunity to hug and say hello and all. And but I just want to get to this and be able to say I'm a Hall of Famer, because if people say you're a Hall of Famer, but it's nothing that I have on there. You can say that, except I can have these shirts and these T-shirts. I mean, these caps and stuff on. But you want the bust, the ring, and the jacket, and then you're legit. You're totally legit then. And I keep saying this sometimes with Mel Blunt. He said, "You're a Hall of Famer. Even if you don't have this stuff, you are a Hall of Famer." And I have to keep hanging on to that. And for guys to keep telling me that I am a Hall of Famer, but I got to have these things to really make me feel comfortable.
Well, I definitely know we're looking forward to August and having not only you, but the entire class of 2020 and our newly announced class of 2021 here to descend on Canton, Ohio for our Enshrinement Week powered by Johnson Controls. So my last question today, and then we'll wrap everything up. And this is a question we end pretty much every program we do here, specifically in our youth and education department. It's, we've talked a lot about great things today. The values we talked about, how you, were challenged and the level of competition that made you who you are, persevering through adversity, going to an HBCU, being undrafted, moving positions with the Eagles. If there is one piece of advice you want all of the students, teachers, all of our live viewers to see or walk away with today, what is that one piece of advice you want everybody to focus on?
Well, being good question. Being in this social media environment right now, not only football players, you want to be into politics, you want to go into medicine, science, whatever. Be careful on how the things you say on the social media. And I know, being that I was worked for the Eagles in the player development for a few years, 17. I had an opportunity to talk to guys, and during that time that I was doing that job, I would get a report every year on each guy that they're drafting before them, and they would look at that report and I would look at it and see what's your strength, what's your weaknesses, what you've done good, what you've done bad. They look at this starting from, I think sometimes it's 9th grade all the way up through college. So be very careful on what you post on these social media sites.
All right, with that, we're going to wrap up our latest installment of the Pro Football Hall of Fame's Heart of a Hall of Famer series today, featuring Gold Jacket, class of 2020, and yes, Hall of Famer, Mr. Harold Carmichael. So Harold, thank you so much for taking time out of your day. If you connected in early, even time out of, doing other tasks, signing football cards for your fans and your family. Thank you so much for being a part of the program today.
Thank you very much, Jake. And hey, God bless everybody out there. Stay safe and stay with the science.
All right. Again, Harold,
and
thank you so much.
Go to the Hall of Fame. And go to the
That's
Hall
right.
of
Yeah.
Fame.
Get that
got
in there.
to go there. Yeah, everybody, that should be on your bucket list to go. And I guarantee it, the people at the Hall of Fame, the staff there, they're going to make sure you have a good time.
Yes, definitely. Harold, thank you so much. And again, I'll echo what John said earlier. Thank you so much for everything you've done for the game. The game of football wouldn't be like it is today without all of our Hall of Famers' influence, especially yours. So thank you for everything you've done for the game. Thank you for everything you've done for the Hall of Fame and will continue to do down the road. We cannot wait to see you in August. And I tell you what, after this interview today, I am even more excited to get you here and see you this August for our Enshrinement Week powered by Johnson Controls. So again, for all of our schools that tuned in, thank you so much. And one last time, Harold, thank you so much for being a part of the program.
Thank you, Jake. Appreciate it, guys.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much. And we'll hopefully have you connected